few groups have sparked as much fascination as the Vikings. Their fierce warriors, expert shipbuilders, and fearless explorers have left a lasting legacy that has shaped the world in ways still felt today. But where did these legendary people come from? What was the geography of their homeland? And how did the unique conditions of Scandinavia foster the development of their culture and seafaring prowess? In this video, we'll explore the origins of the Vikings, their roots in the rugged landscapes of Northern Europe, and how their culture evolved to create one of the most successful civilizations in history. The Viking Age, often defined as the period between the 8th and 11th centuries, was the result of many centuries of cultural and geographical development. To truly understand the origins of the Vikings, we need to first look at their homeland. Scandinavia, comprising modern-day Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, was the epicenter of Viking culture. But this region was more than just a place to live. It was a harsh, yet beautiful land that shaped the Viking way of life. From its dense forests and icy fjords to its rugged mountains and vast coastlines, Scandinavia presented both challenges and opportunities for those who called it home. Let's take a closer look at the geography of Scandinavia and how it influenced the Vikings' way of life. An inhospitable environment. Scandinavia's geography is as diverse as it is extreme. The region is known for its challenging climate, characterized by long, cold winters and short, mild summers. Northern Scandinavia experiences the polar night, where the sun doesn't rise for weeks, while the southern part of the region enjoys more temperate conditions. This harsh climate forced the early inhabitants to adapt quickly, developing resilience and resourcefulness. It wasn't just the weather that posed a challenge. The landscape itself was rugged and difficult to navigate. The towering mountains and vast forests were intimidating, but they also offered shelter, natural resources, and protection from external threats. These natural barriers, combined with the surrounding seas, played a key role in shaping Viking society, encouraging a culture of self-reliance and exploration. The role of the coastline. One of the most defining features of Scandinavia is its extensive coastline, dotted with thousands of islands, fjords, and harbors. For the Vikings, this coastline was more than just a scenic backdrop. It was essential to their way of life. The sea was their lifeblood, and it connected them to the outside world in ways that the land alone could not. The Vikings' skill in navigating the treacherous waters of the North Sea and the Baltic Sea set them apart from other cultures and was a critical factor in their expansion. The coastline provided access to fish, trade routes, and the opportunity to travel far and wide. The Vikings became known not only for their raids, but for their incredible ability to use the sea as a highway, linking them to other civilizations across Europe, Asia, and even North America. The importance of natural resources. Scandinavia's harsh environment was balanced by its rich natural resources, which played a pivotal role in shaping Viking society. Dense forests provided timber for shipbuilding, construction, and fuel, while the rugged mountains and fertile valleys were home to animals that were crucial for food and materials. The region's rivers and lakes were abundant with fish, which became a staple of the Viking diet and a valuable trade commodity. These resources allowed the Vikings not only to survive, but to thrive, developing a society that was deeply connected to the land and its offerings. Vikings became expert hunters, fishermen, and craftsmen, using the raw materials around them to build their ships, homes, and tools. This ability to exploit and sustain themselves from the land helped fuel their voyages of exploration and expansion, providing them with the strength to conquer and settle distant lands. Early settlements and the development of society. Long before the Vikings became known for their raids, they were settled in small, isolated communities throughout Scandinavia. These early settlers were primarily farmers, fishermen, and traders who lived off the land and sea. The harsh environment forced them to develop advanced techniques for farming, fishing, and hunting to ensure their survival. Over time, these early settlements grew into more complex societies, with distinct tribes and clans emerging across the region. The Vikings were not a unified people at first, but rather a collection of smaller tribal groups that shared common cultural traits, language, and beliefs. These tribes formed the foundation of Viking society, and their shared way of life was built on values such as honor, bravery, and loyalty. The Viking way of life, honor, and legacy. The Viking culture was deeply rooted in values of honor, bravery, and loyalty. These principles guided the Vikings in all aspects of their lives, from their relationships with their families and communities to their roles as warriors and explorers. Viking society placed great emphasis on personal reputation, and a man's worth was often measured by his achievements in battle, his ability to protect his family, and his contributions to the community. This sense of honor extended to their belief in the afterlife, particularly the concept of Valhalla, where warriors who died heroically in battle were said to be rewarded with eternal glory. The Viking legacy was built on this fierce sense of duty, and it motivated generations to come to uphold the values passed down through the ages. As a result, these ideals were woven into the fabric of Viking culture, fueling their relentless exploration and expansion. The influence of Norse mythology. The Vikings' belief system was deeply rooted in Norse mythology, which helped shape their worldview and way of life. Central to this mythology were the gods and goddesses of the ancient Norse pantheon, including Odin, Thor, and Freya. These deities played a significant role in Viking culture, influencing everything from daily rituals to the reasons behind their voyages. The Norsemen believed that their gods would guide them on their journeys, whether they were exploring new lands or battling enemies in raids. The Vikings also believed in the concept of Valhalla, an afterlife reserved for warriors who died in battle. This belief in an honorable death fueled the Vikings' relentless pursuit of glory and helped solidify their identity as fierce, determined warriors. The development of seafaring skills. One of the key elements that set the Vikings apart from other early European cultures was their remarkable skill in shipbuilding and navigation. The Vikings' longships, characterized by their sleek design and shallow draft, allowed them to travel quickly across open seas and navigate narrow rivers with ease. These ships were masterpieces of engineering, constructed with precision and an understanding of the natural world. The Vikings' mastery of shipbuilding was not simply a result of necessity, but also a reflection of their cultural values. They viewed their ships as extensions of themselves, and each voyage was seen as a journey of both survival and exploration. As the Vikings expanded their reach across Europe and beyond, their ships enabled them to establish trade routes, launch raids, and settle new lands, from the British Isles to the coasts of North America. The early Viking raids. The Viking Age is often defined by the raids and conquests that these fierce seafarers carried out across Europe. Beginning in the late 8th century, Viking longships began to appear on the shores of the British Isles, France, and other parts of Europe. The first recorded Viking raid took place in 793 CE, when they attacked the Lindisfarne Monastery off the northeast coast of England. What began as small-scale raids quickly turned into larger expeditions, as the Vikings sought not only wealth, but new lands to settle. These raids were not indiscriminate acts of violence. They were calculated and strategic, aimed at weakening local kingdoms and acquiring resources to sustain Viking society. The raids also served as a means of exploring new territories, establishing trade routes, and finding better opportunities for growth. Establishing new settlements. As the Vikings expanded their reach, they began to establish permanent settlements in new lands. The Vikings were not just raiders, they were also skilled colonizers. They founded cities, towns, and entire kingdoms in places like Normandy, Iceland, and Greenland. In some cases, they even ventured as far as North America, where the Viking explorer Leif Erikson is believed to have established a settlement in Newfoundland around the year 1000 CE. These settlements were vital to the Vikings' long-term success, providing resources, trade opportunities, and strategic military positions. Over time, the Vikings transformed from a society of raiders into a powerful network of kingdoms and cultures, leaving a lasting impact on the regions they touched. The transformation from raiders to settlers. While the Viking raids are what most people associate with their expansion, it's important to recognize that the Vikings were also exceptional settlers and colonizers. Over time, their focus shifted from plundering to establishing permanent settlements in new lands. This transition marked a significant transformation in Viking society, from a culture driven by the pursuit of wealth and glory to one focused on creating lasting legacies in the form of thriving colonies. Vikings established communities in places like Iceland, Greenland, and parts of the British Isles, and their presence was felt across Europe. These settlements were not only military outposts, but also centers of trade, culture, and innovation. As settlers, the Vikings contributed to the growth of new societies, shaping the future of the lands they inhabited and leaving a lasting impact on history. The origins of the Vikings can be traced back to the harsh yet resource-rich landscapes of Scandinavia, where they honed their survival skills, developed unique cultural practices, and mastered the art of seafaring. From their early settlements to their world-renowned voyages of discovery, the Vikings left a legacy that continues to captivate the imagination today. Their advanced shipbuilding, seafaring abilities, and expansionist spirit enabled them to shape the course of history, making them one of the most influential groups of the medieval period. The Viking story is one of resilience, innovation, and exploration, values that remain as relevant today as they were over 1,000 years ago. If you've been fascinated by the Vikings' journey from humble beginnings to legendary seafarers, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Explore more about their incredible voyages, battles, and cultural contributions in our future videos. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What part of Viking history interests you the most?